Check, check, check.
Marvelous, 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 I'm raving. And when she puckers up her lips so sweet, she's got the brand of kisses can be beat. Marvelous, marvelous, boys all love her so. They're out of luck, you see, she's mine exclusively. Sweet, sweet, marvelous girl.
Good evening, everyone. Great to be here. Thank you for coming back to what is now called the Lynn Show. And tonight will be a real rendition of that because we've got a great topic and we got great guests coming, one of which is also a Lynn. So we'll get to that. And the music you heard on the intro is also a Lynn. That's my great-great-grandfather, Al Lynn and the Music Masters. That's the song Marvelous from Edison Records, 1927. It's on iTunes and you can Google it, Al Lynn's Music Masters. Okay, so we got a big night of Lynn's here and a lot of great stuff going on. So first I want to say hello and wish you all l'chaim. Thank you for joining. I'm drinking a nice Israeli Metofa wine back there, okay? Highly recommended. Tonight's topic is about health, the balancing act of health. And we're all thinking about it because the pandemic has really brought that to the forefront of our lives, like our mental health and our sanity and really questioning everything we do and how we do it. And even in confined spaces, how do we get our body and our mind and our soul in sync? And that's really the key. Like, how do we get our body and our mind and our soul in sync? And that's what we're going to talk about. It happens to be that if you're English, this is Mental Health Week in the United Kingdom. And many of you might not know that this is actually Mental Health Month, Awareness Month, May, in America, which was actually put into place in 1949. Wow. Okay, so since 1949, the month of May has been dedicated to the month of mental health awareness. Some crazy statistics out there. Now, tonight's not about necessarily mental health at that level. Tonight is about holistic health. And we have Joanna Ben-Adret joining us as a holistic health coach. We'll learn all about that and what that's about. And my brother, Rabbi Dr. Yosef Lynn, who is a spiritual guide of a higher educational institution in Jerusalem, who also has a book out and a new seminar website, Seminar The Greatness Within, and he'll be talking about that and how in his degree in positive psychology from the University of Pennsylvania, how that plays out, how we're positive people and healthy people and happy people. So that's what tonight's about. Happens to be when we deal with real mental health issues, there are crazy stats out there that 18% of Americans will be dealing with a mental health issue in their lives, something a very high level of depression and bipolar and schizophrenia and things. These are real things. It means like 1 in 5. Either God, hopefully we will all go unscathed, of course, but like we're going to be dealing with people who have these things, and the ability to be mentally all there and available and healthy is not so simple. It's on a macro scale. In big issues, and of course into a smaller scale of what we're dealing with in our lives, trying to stay sane and trying to get through this. By the way, I have myself been very involved in the field of course, health, mind, body, and soul, as you can see here on the screen. I think I have a few images to show you, just so you know that. See, I'm really all there. Okay, that's a tattoo sleeve. Okay, that's a tattoo sleeve. Yeah, see, I'm in the lotus position. Okay. All the right places. There I am, clearing the mind, different, innovation, and just breathing a new environment, right? All these activities you have to get yourself into. Yeah, the Alaskan Husky snow sledding I do every week just to get that cool air right through my system. Oh, that I wish were true. Okay, very cute and very funny. Thank you, Steph. Hey, okay, that one's got to go. All right. Okay, very cute and very funny. I did see that people are really struggling. We're going to figure out what it means to be healthy today's day and age, especially in coronavirus, to such an extent that I actually stumbled across the Grateful Dead health initiative. Now, having gone to a lot of Grateful Dead shows in my life, that's the last thing I thought that we would use the brand Grateful Dead for. Bob Weir, who's 72 and still kicking, is a wicked health addict, and he's got the Bob Weir Grateful Bod. Okay, he's 72, God bless him. I wonder if that's going to help him remember the lyrics, because even when he was young and sprightly, he wasn't, he fudged them the whole time. But we love him. We love him. I've spent a lot of time in front of him in my life, but I don't really think like the Grateful Dead bod is where we want to go with this. Okay. But if you need it, it's out there. So let's get right into it. We have great guests tonight. And I want to bring in our first guest, Joanna Benadret, wellwithyael.com. Hi, Joanna.
Hi, Robin.
How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Okay, yeah, I'm great. I'm going to be better after we're done talking, I'm sure. Right?
Watch this day with all those photos. It's the intention that matters. That's the first step.
It's the passion, and it's the je ne sais quoi, and it's probably a little bit of this. I mean, you told me that I should be drinking nonstop when we prep for this.
One cup a night is all good.
Okay. So I have to admit, that when you and I spoke, I was interested for sure, but I hadn't heard of what you do, which is holistic health coaching, and now I'm going to sign up. Okay, now that we've spoken, so Well with Yael is your website. So let's talk about holistic health. Okay, we this show is not necessarily about the big mental health issues. It's really for all of us out there now trying to stay focused and healthy and clear and really make the most of our situation, of course, and going forward, really being able to feel like we are the most productive and the best version of ourselves. So tell us what holistic health coaching is and how you got into it.
Definitely. So I can start maybe with my background and then dive into the holistic healing.
So they're scrolling up your website over there.
Okay, we're scrolling on the website. Okay, so I went to Babson College, and funnily enough, what I studied was business management and entrepreneurship. And from there, I went straight into venture capital. And while I was in VC, my role in VC was to work directly with our early stage entrepreneurs and help them set their goals and then help them set actionable steps that they could take in order to achieve their goals. And again, my role was to hold them accountable to those steps. So then I went on, I was passionate about the health and wellness world. And I enrolled in the Institute of Integrative Nutrition to become a holistic health coach.
And where's your back? What was pushing you from your background? You're in venture capital, and then all of a sudden you're chucking away the millions for Serenity.
Yeah, so it was twofold. So it was a very personal experience with a loved one who got very sick during my college years. And I went on his whole healing journey with him. And that's when I was first introduced to holistic healing and functional medicine, which is basically getting to the root cause of disease. So in Western medicine, it's very common to put what I call a band-aid approach whenever you're sick. So, antibiotics,
Right.
sort of masking the root issue. And functional medicine is all about, and holistic medicine is all about finding the root cause of what's causing that issue to come out of your body, right? Because there's always a root.
Let's talk a little bit about what is so unique here. I think about holistic coaching. First of all, there's the coaching aspect, of course, which is just having somebody who's got your back, right, and like is keeping you on schedule. But we talk about mental health, let's call it mindfulness, and all these things that people are trying to grab into. We talk about nutrition, and normally there are different departments and different pursuits. So, and you're really trying to balance them.
Right.
And let's get into the balance of those things.
Let's dive into that. So it's so funny because in our society today, people are so quick to separate mind from body, but they're actually largely interconnected. So I don't know if anyone in the audience has heard about the gut-brain axis, but actually 90% of our neurotransmitters live in our gut, live in our stomach. So think about it. The food that you're putting in.
The way to a man's heart is through his stomach, but you're really saying the way that his brain is through his stomach also.
Exactly. It's both.
Right.
So the food,
Wow.
anytime you're taking something from the external world and you're putting it into your body, you're putting it directly into the home of where your neurotransmitters that are responsible for your mood regulation live. So the mind and body are extremely connected. And my role is to sort of bring that to the forefront for my clients and explain to them how the foods and also the environment they create for themselves affect those mood stabilizers.
Okay, and the coaching component, of course, is that, I mean, it's not just it's not a vending machine. You pay the money, you get out the script. I mean, there's a coaching component over here also. So how does that fit in? So you're talking about diet, you're talking about mindset, you're talking about trying to deal with things that are getting in the way. Talk about the coaching part of it now.
Exactly. So what I believe, or what we believe as a holistic healing method, is that sometimes you go to a doctor, you speak with them for 5-15 minutes, and they write a prescription for you right away for your symptoms. Or you go to nutritionists and they give you sort of the diet that they want you to follow. My role is to work with my clients, usually over the course of 6 months, to help them find, what are their ailments, what are their symptoms, and what are actionable steps that they can create, that they can add into their lives in order to hold themselves, like with me holding them accountable, but to hold themselves accountable to reaching their goals. So we do that through various methods. This is an example of a circle of life where you see all the forms of nourishment aside from food that we receive that might be out of balance. So here you see someone who's completed this circle of life. They've ranked through those dots on a scale of, from the middle being not feeling, let's say with joy, not feeling too much joy on a day-to-day, to higher up, closer to the outside of the circle is where they feel lots of joy in their life. And you see, they're able to visually see, what's out of balance, and where can they maybe fill these sources of nourishment a bit more. So we work on that together.
Fascinating. The categories are very important, and my brother comes on later on in the world of positive psychology. These things are the bread and butter of that department. But now there's nutrition also, and you spoke to me about how amazing it is the correlation between even how our bodies handle food or how our mind relates to food, and how we deal with all the things you have up there or the blocks that we have. So talk a little bit about that. You told me some very interesting things about even digestion. I want to make sure people hear that.
We can dive into that. So there's incredible research and incredible studies around how our mind and our approach to food, even as we're eating it or right before we're about to eat it, affects the way we physically digest the food. So something that I was speaking with you about was, it's fascinating to me because there's something called deep belly breathing that I encourage my clients to do before they sit down for a meal.
Okay, and I'm just going to stop you for a second, just so no one goes away. We're going to learn how to deep belly breathe in a moment, okay? We'll get to that.
Exactly. And so for the fun science part of it is
Right.
our bodies can either exist in a state of stress or relaxation. They're existing in one state or the other throughout the day. So one state is called sympathetic nervous system and the other is parasympathetic nervous system. And so when you're in your stressed, when your nervous system is activated in stress, any food that you're eating, even if it's greens, even if it looks like the healthiest plate of food,
Right.
not going to digest it well because your body is in a state of stress and it's thinking, for survival mechanism, I'm going to store this food as fat right away because I need to store it as energy. Whereas if you
You're saying the
deep
fight or flight of the stress is
the
taking
fight or
the
flight,
food and putting it into like sending it to a different department already.
I
Like
need
load it onto the trucks, like send it over there, store it out.
survive.
Right.
It's back in the day when we were running
It's
away.
a cash flow issue. Put the money in the bank, sit on it. Don't do anything crazy. There's no venture capital. Right. Okay, I hear.
And so then when you do something like deep belly breathing, it actively turns on the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your relaxed state, and it allows your
Yeah.
body to then digest the food that you're processing, to process that food 10 times better.
Now, I
So
want to get into a little bit of a spiritual side with you, the question I have for you, and then, of course, the deep belly breathe, which we have to do. But first, we have one of our more Manhattan community members, Danielle Gerson here, who's gonna come and ask you a question.
Hi.
So, hi, Danielle, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you, Rabbi. How are you?
Great. Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for
Good to
jumping
see
on.
you.
Okay, good. So we'd like to take questions from people, and so great. Here, Joanna, Danielle, let's hear what's on your mind, Danielle. What would you like to know?
Hey, yeah. So first of all, thanks for joining us. This is awesome. So a lot of people recently, so for example, right now I'm in Florida. A lot of people have lost their jobs, their apartments, especially, in the ages ranging from 20 to 30. So there's kind of been this awkward relationship with food. So I was wondering, what is your input psychologically on how we deal with stress and anxiety and its relationship with food?
thank you for that. That's a great question. And that's super important. You're right, in the context of COVID and quarantine. So, as I said,
As I reach for the bottle, could be a cup of Ben and Jerry's. Could be a lot worse.
well, it's
Maybe.
about balance. It's about balance. And if you're enjoying that bottle of wine, then by all means, your body is enjoying it too, to an extent. Balance. So there's the gut-brain axis. And again, it's the idea that our mind and our body are so connected. Our mind literally lives in our gut. So the foods that we are going to put into it are either gonna feed the inflammation in our body, which isn't good. It's gonna inflame us. It's gonna upset our neurons, or it's gonna fight the inflammation that's going on in our body. So inflammation inherently isn't good or bad. It's just that we want to keep it in balance. Holistic medicine is all about balance. So doing practices that feed, that nourish all those sources of primary food that we saw in that circle of life. So connecting with your family, connecting with your friends, finding ways to de-stress at work through deep belly breathing and other tools. And also incorporating anti-inflammatory foods into your diet are a great way to sort of reduce that anxiety and increase your stress management levels, so that you can manage that stress better.
By attending this lesson and seeing the pictures. Thank you.
Great, Danielle. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Great. So there's the image of the person like having a bad day and then binging on the chocolate cake or the Ben and Jerry's. I just have to ask, like it's usually I have 5 daughters, a wife and 5 daughters. I got 3 sons.
Incredible.
And without being an anthropologist, a sociologist over here, forget anthropology, sociologist or a dietitian, or anything, it seems like there's a stronger relationship. I see, like with my daughters than my sons. Okay, is there anything to that at all, or is that just complete propaganda?
So that's really interesting. So I believe in bio-individuality, which means that each individual is unique in and of themselves, depending on their genetics and the environment in which they grew up and in which they create and live in at the moment. So I definitely see there is always a trend that, it happens to be that women have a stronger, more emotional relationship with food sometimes, but there's the exception as well. There are men who experience that as well. So I don't like to give blanket statements.
Sure.
It's more about meeting every client or every individual where they're at in their wellness journey. And it's always a mixture of, the genetics and the environment that they're living in. Like if they're living in stress and all of a sudden they form a relationship with food because there are other forms of nourishment, maybe their relationships are lacking or their work,
Mhm.
their work relationships aren't so well.
It does seem that food is really the key, though. It's not like, when you're stressed out at work, all of a sudden you form a relationship with, like, horticology.
Food is easy, right? Because food, it's an immediate source of gratification.
Right.
It's very immediate, and that's why it's beautiful when we think about it in terms of Judaism, because there's two things. I love the idea of correlating deep belly breathing to sort of the prayers that you're supposed to say before you eat a meal or before you drink, because it's all about
Right.
just getting present. And food is a really easy way to mask our feelings and sort of
Hold on,
distract.
we got a big pause over here. That's the best plug for, like, for what, like, for Judaism and blessings. Like the mindset that you have when before you eat, a blessing that we say before we eat is a total, Jedi mind trick of spiritually connecting to the flow of energy, the source of the food, the construct of the food, what it is, where it's from, and what it's doing with you right now at the moment. It's a very powerful thing. You're like, yes, ding, 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 like score one for the Jews over here. But before we get out, Jonah, we got to do a deep belly breathe, okay? You said let's do it. Show us how it's done. You said 7 seconds in, 7 seconds out.
So we're gonna do 5 whole seconds in, hold
Okay,
for 7 seconds, and then breathe out for 7 seconds.
okay.
I can walk.
People take note. If you do this before you eat, you're golden. If you say a blessing and do this before you eat, then it's like, you'll never get.
You're enough. Okay, I'll walk you through it because I'll be counting.
Okay.
So we're gonna breathe in for 5 whole seconds. So, and I want you to really feel your belly expand as you're breathing in. So
Okay.
on a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're gonna hold for 7 seconds. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now you're gonna exhale for 7 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and really let it all out. 7. So it's as simple as that.
Amazing. You do that before you do that. You really do that, Jonah, before you eat, huh? You sit down.
I really do. I notice, in the middle of my work day, I notice that I'm not even stressed, but I'm running from thing to thing. And sometimes,
Amazing.
my lunch is in front of me and I'm starting to devour it. And then I'm like, hold on, let me really get present for a moment and focus my whole body on the fact that I'm about to nourish my body with the food I'm about to eat.
Amazing. Okay, when we talk about like spirituality, we have that show. We're going to bring this back on, and what it means to be focused and mindful before you eat directly in relation with the food. It's amazing. Joanna, wellwithyael.com. She is a holistic health coach, and I'm sure they're knocking down the doors to get to you probably in this time that we're in. But I really appreciate that you've come on the show and you've shared this with us. And that connection is it's amazing. It's an amazing thing, and to think that it fits so well with a Jewish philosophy, a Jewish approach to food and eating and everything is really beautiful. And you and I spent time together in Israel and Jerusalem, and you've come on our trips to Israel. And I know that spiritual side of you is so strong and amazing. Even in your name, you come from a very illustrious rabbinic family, so it's there all the time. And it's the neshama, your soul, and your breath. It's the same word. Your neshama. You know that your neshama, your soul, and the breath, neshima, is the same word. And really appreciate your time, and it's amazing what you have to offer. People go there, wellwithyael.com, and learn how to get through all this. Okay, thank you, Yael. Thank you very much. Amazing. That is, when you say lessons, it's a food, there's a whole, art now, art, art very often. Now, revenue, art, what the art thou, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe. Okay? That's what thou, Lord our God. Right? Religion? Okay. What thou, Lord our God, ruler of the universe. What's the deal? All right. We're going to start with the video, okay? Okay, we're good? We say that blessing.
There are a lot of techniques and books out there today that can be helpful in marriage, but what we have to offer is something totally different. What we're going to do is give you a totally new way of thinking and of acting, which can really impact your marriage.
Where did all this come from? First of all, we immersed ourselves for decades in mystical Jewish esoteric wisdom. We've married that up with very, very cutting edge research from the world of positive psychology.
We've taken our seminars, our lectures, our ideas, and we basically have condensed them and put them into this video for you.
Without these paradigms in place, it's almost impossible to have a great marriage. With these paradigms in place, we believe it's almost impossible to fail.
Okay, I have, that was the intro song. We had technical difficulty with the sound. I think we're back on. I think we're back on. Excellent. Okay, great. So this is a beautiful night because that was the video, the intro of my brother. He was one of those guys there, okay? And so we're going to bring him on. Now, it's 3 a.m. Yes, 3:23 in Jerusalem, and it's a live show. So we could have pre-recorded it. Rabbi Lynn, I'm not gonna call Rabbi Lynn, Shmuel and Yosef. That's what we're going with. Hey, it's 3:23 in the morning. Thanks a lot.
It's the least I can do for an older brother.
Yeah, not only that, it's 3:23 in the morning, and it's the day after your birthday. Okay,
Yeah.
Now that you're 42, 3 o'clock in the morning for your older brother. Finally,
Not so easy.
anyway, we had a little glitch over there before, but I was saying it's an amazing thing what she's saying, that the direct connection to the food that you have is like even the way you approach the food with the blessing or something like that, it affects your digestion completely, affects where the food goes, how it's stored. Amazing stuff. Oh, we gotta
You kept me off and let her keep going.
Yeah, okay, but I think you have something to say. No, I think you have something to offer. Anyway, okay, great. And you wore a tie for the occasion, like amazing.
Sorry.
Okay, the truth is, okay, we got a little bit of video to take care of the technical glitch, but like, okay, Rabbi Yosef, my brother, you first of all, L'chaim, you have a cup of coffee over there, but I'm drinking a good white wine.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. So you have completed your PhD, which is amazing, Dr. Lynn.
Thank you so much.
Well, you like the music from Great Grandpa in the beginning,
I love it.
right? So you completed your PhD. You've written a book on marriage. We're not talking about marriage on this show. You've written a book about marriage. You are a spiritual advisor. In Hebrew, it's called the mashgiach. But there's it. Not a partnership. Todd Jacobs and Peter Lynn. Yes, my brother and I, many of you will know that we did not set out in life to become rabbis. Either we failed at everything we did, and this is just the bottom of the barrel, or we excelled at everything we did, and it just kept getting better and better. One of the two. It's not in the middle for sure, because you don't choose this life to be middle ground. Okay, but he was born Peter. I was born Adam. He's using his Hebrew name. I use my Hebrew name. It's pretty wild. Our parents did not think they were going to get much mileage out of the Hebrew names they gave us. But lo and behold, Yosef Lynn, but they wrote a book for very, very non-religious arguments. Beautiful, non-religious, not arguments, audience, as Peter Lynn, as Todd Jacobs. Great. So we've written a book about marriage, and you got your PhD. You're a spiritual dean of a higher educational Talmudic institution for English-speaking young Jews who want to come to Jerusalem and really get advanced exposure to deep Jewish ideas and thought and lifestyle. And that, of course, is not just, teaching texts and philosophy, but that's actually really creating a healthy person out there, which is probably, I know, more of your job. So that's actually you in Poland. I believe that's in the yeshiva in Poland. But so let's talk about, so you went to University of Pennsylvania and got your master's degree in positive psychology. So let's talk about Yosef. Like, what do you do with your life? Like, what's your calling? What's your mission? What is positive? Because we're going to get to something else, which is really practical for everybody out there. But first, let's just get the background, okay? Tell me how you see it from the world of positive psychology.
I'll tell you like this: is that what I started off with a long time ago was in the field of architecture, and I basically came to the conclusion that instead of spending the rest of my life designing your kitchen, that what I really cared more about was, instead of building infrastructure, physical infrastructure, was building human beings. And, probably the thing that drives me the most is helping people live their lives in the best possible way. And that fuel basically led me towards obviously looking into Judaism more. It led me to being the dean of students to help people make sure they go through the process of bringing Judaism into their life in a healthy and integrated manner. And I think specifically the positive psychology is I saw positive psychology as basically a cutting edge field that was so in line with how Judaism says a person should be built that when I saw that field, I said, I got to look more into it. And that led to my whole life going to Penn and pursuing a master's degree there in positive psychology. And positive psychology, really, people always ask, like, what is it?
Yeah, can I do that? What is it?
So most of the world of psychology is built on a disease model, which is where are the issues in your life and let's try and fix those. And positive psychology says, well, let's try and go a different route. Let's try and first focus on where are things going right in your life and let's try and make more of that happen. And it's basically the science of where things are going right. So that's really what I've invested a lot of time and effort and money in over the past years of my life.
Right. And like, you know, so we're going to get a little practical right now, but, you know, people out there in our community and you know, no one expected a pandemic and everyone's improvising and trying to figure out, but for sure, everyone, and this is mental health month in America and mental health week in England. They only have a week of it. I guess they're more healthier than we are. They only need a week, but like, I think people can start to empathize or with real issues like where this. I know so many students, people dealing with depression now more and uncertainty, anxiety. Like the world is everything we thought were the pillars of the world have been undone. You know, how is like let's talk a little bit about like positive psychology. What are the parameters, so to speak? What are the living organisms, the vital organs, let's call it, of positive psychology that the person should be aware of? I mean, Joanna gave us a chart, but I want to hear from the source here. What are the factors, the categories that make up the world of the focus of positivity?
Mm-hmm. So I think like this is that there's many elements that you can bring into your life to enhance your well-being. Probably the easiest way to look at the whole thing is in the world of positive psychology. One of the things they talk about is there's basically 3 different levels of life, 3 different levels of happiness. And what I see now more than ever is if people try and focus on this highest level, which I'll get to, that is, you know, that can really impact your well-being in a very strong manner. The lowest level of life basically is, they call it the pleasant life, which is a person pursues just short-term pleasures, what feels good in the moment. Like, you know, with Joanna, a great steak dinner, that nice bottle of Israeli wine right now. Yeah. It's great, but it's actually the lowest level of pleasure, and it's actually the lowest level of happiness. The next level of life is the good life, which is basically things you pursue with hard work and with effort, goals, accomplishments, everything. And that actually brings a person more happiness. The highest level of life, and which brings the most happiness, is what's called the meaningful life. And the way the meaningful life is described is being connected to something which is bigger than yourself. And actually, the bigger that thing is, the more meaning you have in your life, hence the happier you are. And what I think is happening a lot is, you know, those people that can take an experience like what is happening and they can really try and make it a very meaningful experience. Maybe it's focusing on improving yourself in certain ways in your life. Maybe it's focused on connecting to your loved ones in a certain way. Maybe it's focused on you thinking deeper about who you are and what you want to be. What happens is we get, you know, it's understandable, but obviously life is so overwhelming right now, and it's so difficult with people being stressed out as far as their work is concerned, their mental health, their who knows what. But what I've found is that the more people can try and figure out how to make meaning out of this experience, it really can have a huge impact.
Wow. It seems like, I mean, maybe during this time, like coronavirus, you know, we might want to like take on a charitable cause. It sounds like people need to give me a little bit of advice here for people who are struggling with just the uncertainty of everything. And obviously, I think everyone to some degree, you know, is a little either careening or inching towards a less positive place than they were before, a less healthier place than they were before? You know, how can someone work on these things? Where can someone go with these ideas right now?
So I think there's a lot to do, and I think we're going to get to it soon, which is, I think, one of the major places that especially your audience can focus on, which is their career. But you know, I think that people that, although we're very overwhelmed right now, there's a lot going on, that what can actually happen during this time is you can actually pick something in your life that you've been trying to work on for a long period, or a relationship you're really trying to, you know, enhance. And if people proactively work on it right now, you actually probably have more time, and you have more of a maybe desire, because, well, I have to change something right now, and there's many things I can't change.
Yeah.
That if people try and pick maybe whether it's a certain relationship or it's a certain character trait, or we're going to get there in a second, certain aspect of your professional life, and you proactively try and work on it and really engage it, and you kind of make that your project. I've seen, you know, it's interesting, as much of there's a lot of stress out there, I've seen some people really say, whoa, there's a certain character trait I really got to fix in my life. And they've really gone out of their way to spend time in doing online seminars and reading books, and they've made changes. I've seen people work on their marriages in a certain way and invest a lot of time and effort into trying to, you know, deal with this particular thing in their marriage. And since they've been able to kind of be more with their spouse, it's really actually been a very powerful experience for them.
Now, we lost you for 1 second. It's been a very powerful process. I'm sure that's what you were saying, or something like that at the end. But let's, like, I want to get practical right now. I know from so many of your students that we share, that you have these greatness within seminars. You have these almost repertoires that you'll put students through to really understand who they are and understand what they're about, be self-aware, and then you can be self-actualized. And so much of the accolades that come your way have to do with, like, how to choose a profession. So, you know, let's talk to that for 1 second, because I know that's, you know, people are sitting now, we don't know when we're coming back to work, we don't know what's going on, but, like, this for you has been like the holy grail, so to speak, of, like, if you realize most people are in darkness and there's such a light at the end of the tunnel, if you realize how to shift your perspective and relate to your profession in a new and improved way. Can you speak to that?
So I think you're right, is that the place I feel the most passionate about is getting people in the right place in their professional life. And our professional life dominates so much of who we are, our identity, our well-being, everything. A person who doesn't feel like they're in the right career, it can absolutely crush them. And it can, and we spend so much of our life immersed in our professional life. You know, it used to be that, you know, back when Lynn was working, there was your professional life and there's your home life.
Right.
And now in all the, you know, in today's world, they speak about work-life integration, because there's really no separation.
There's no balance. It's just integration now.
It's there nonstop. And what I've seen very clearly through Judaism, and especially through the field of positive psychology, is that there's a very clear formula of how a person can find that sweet spot where they can put themselves in the right place in their professional life. And that's basically when a person understands what their natural strengths are in a real deep way. That can be the guiding light to figuring out what you should do every single day. You know, I would say 9 to 5 is no longer the right time, but all day long. And what I've developed is a whole system of seminars of how people can really understand what their natural strengths are, and then figure out, okay, how do I make the right career choice based off of those natural strengths?
And you said something to me amazing. You know, I've heard you say this before, but, like, it's not just career choice. Most, I mean, having taught at University of Pennsylvania for so many years, most young people are choosing careers in, like, the macro. You know, they're choosing, like, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a this, but really it's the micro that counts. Like, they don't know that when you're applying for a job, and all of a sudden, within being a lawyer, but in this job, there's so many variations, and how critical it is right now, especially in your life, to rethink, like, I might like the industry I'm in, but where I am in that industry, where I'm placed, and how I interact with that particular part needs to be seen. Like stage 2, you got to go into it and look at it, time, balance, energy, stress levels, etc., and rethink it. And I'm going to say that, like, Joseph, your seminars are amazing at this, and you've just really put them out now. The Greatness Within seminars, and you can find it at josephlynn.com. And they're really awesome. And I always want to get as many people to you as I can, because they need that. Someone's got, like, think straight for a little bit about the biggest choice you're going to make. But I do have a birthday present for you.
Uh-oh.
Being it's your birthday, we went back into the files, okay? And we have someone here who happens to be really into mental health and wellness and all these things. But more than that, is like one of your oldest, dearest friends, and happens to be a very well-known personality today, and you can find him on the blacklist. We have Amir Aronson.
Amir, my man, there he is.
Happy birthday, you're my lad. That's
oh my gosh, Amir, my man.
Do you know, everybody, that Peter actually messaged me like an hour ago saying, "Hey, my brother has this talk show. Do you want to join on? I'm speaking last minute." And I said, "I'm sorry, I can't make it. I have a Zoom call."
And I just spoke to you.
I had to cover it. I had to cover myself.
Holy, this is a famous guy here. This is probably the most famous guy you've ever had in this show.
Well, the show's only like 3 weeks old, but yes, so far.
Like,
Where are we? Where are we? First of all, who's tuning in, and where are we broadcasting? And
your broadcast, I mean, it's on Facebook Live, but tuning in, the community are New York City young professional Jews, and
Shalom.
friends that shalom, that are here. And, we're trying to talk about topics that are really, like, on point: mental health, like diet, nutrition, that Tonight Show. But really,
Okay.
Hey,
all right, couple things. All right,
Yeah.
couple things real quick. I'll jump right in. First of all, Shalom, Jews of New York. You are on with two very good rabbis. They're brothers. No favoritism in there. I haven't seen
Amir,
that
how
in a
much
long
did you
time.
think? How much did you think that we were going to become rabbis?
Well, you were a rabbi by the time I met you. Peter was. I did not expect that after hanging out with him senior year. Oh my God! Look, you have research. Oh, that's me and James.
Look at that.
150th episode, a couple of weeks ago.
You look better than him.
That's right.
The best looking guy in the 80s. You kidding me? Oh,
What did you do? What is this research? That picture is 12 years old. What are you doing? What are you doing to me? That's great.
You're 40 something.
Okay, just so before I lose you, when I found out that this was about mental health, two things. My mom is a psychiatrist. Peter knows her well. Zippy, she's actually Israeli, child of the Holocaust. She carries it with her. When she has patients, she lets them know, if you have any conflict of interest, you should know now that I am from Israel, and so forth. But she, she sees all races, all creeds, everything. Two things that I thought you would find interesting. One, that she specialized in depression and is a clinical psychiatrist and medication, and always does a full medical intake before she prescribes treatment, and talks about everything. And every now and then over the years, as she accumulated wisdom, sometimes she would prescribe worship. Sometimes she would prescribe, you should go to your church. You should go to your mosque or your temple. Or, you know what I mean? This is a conversation. This is not treatable by medicine, or this is something this is something you have to talk to with your family. And this is between you and your God. And I always thought that was, and this is coming from a clinical psychiatrist, and she's not extremely religiously observant. It's from a clinical point of view.
Okay, so you're going to come to temple with me in New York City. We're going to go together, you and me, Amir.
Oh, I thought you were going to say me and you were going to go to the psychiatrist together.
What's the future have for you? What were you working on next?
Oh, well, we shut down work early.
Yeah.
We lost 3 episodes, like everybody with the pandemic.
Right.
And we're supposed to go back in mid-July for season 8 of the show. I'm signed up to do season 8 of the show, which is supposed to be the last season. We'll see. Hopefully, I'm glad we even got a season 8.
Right.
But what I'm hearing, Broadway shut down through the fall. I don't think we'll be starting mid-July. I'll be impressed and happy if we start by September. They're going to be obviously a huge amount of changes on how production is done, and
that's a lot. Another whole. I'm going to have you back on, and we're going to talk about this also. But it's really awesome to see you. Nice birthday present, Yosef.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect. I just want to let you know, I loved him before he was famous. I want to tell you that. Okay, I want to make that public. I went to the high school, everything.
And I look forward to a coffee face to face with you in New York City very soon.
I would love that. I would
Very
love that.
very
God bless. Happy birthday. Early Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and continued success.
Thanks, Amir. Okay, Yosef.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Listen, it's really great that he said that, mental health professionals sending you to
Amazing, huh?
Yosef, I think the stuff you're doing is incredible, and you're amazing talent. And I need to push people to you. People should go there. You guys should go there and sign up for your seminars. They're fresh and they're just out. YosefLynn.com. Go there and see, and really, really don't have your midlife crisis in midlife. Have it now. Go for it now and figure out who you are and what you're about. Yosef, I'm so grateful you got up at 3:30 in the morning, the day after your birthday. Please.
Thanks, Niels.
Yeah. And thanks for coming. It's great to see you.
Okay, lots of love. Okay, amazing. Thank you for having me.
Right. Man. Okay, beautiful. So nice. Okay, Amir Aronson, great. Thanks for coming, Amir. Awesome, great to see you. And great. So for the last couple of minutes, let's just. I want to give you a little bit of something to leave with on the subject. When I was at University of Pennsylvania, one of the professors, I'm going to leave him unnamed, one of the main professors at the Wharton School of Business, was. Started focusing on what became the most popular subject at Penn, just like Tal Shach. Yeah, the most popular course at Harvard was positivity or happiness, and so at University of Pennsylvania, the Wharton School, this professor started focusing on happiness. Now it's Wharton, so like work-life balance, like what are the parameters of happiness? And it ended up that one of our students had written a paper for this class, and she based it on all the teachings that we had in the Jewish class. And it happened to be about this time of the year, because between Passover and the holiday of Shavuot next week, tune in next week because we'll be talking all about it. Okay, but the holiday Shavuot, the holiday which commemorates the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. Not the hospital in Midtown, but the hill in the desert, right? And the giving of the Torah, that climatic experience of the entire Exodus. There's 49 days between, and those 49 days are days that we traditionally look as like, count down till we get to Mount Sinai. Thanks for getting us out of Egypt. This thing was great. It's that God took us out and then put us on our own 2 feet and said, I want you to walk on your own. You're going to go to a place called Mount Sinai. And when you get to Mount Sinai, you're going to have to actually be the most fulfilled version of yourself that you can be. And I'm going to give you the Torah. When you're there, I'm going to give you my wisdom. I'm going to open the world and pour upon you blessing and wisdom and truth. But you have to be the receptacle that can contain it. If you have a vessel full of holes, it's not going to work. You have to be complete. You have to be able to stand there and receive. And in order to receive, you have to be a complete version of yourself, the most self-actualized, fulfilled version of yourself. And this is the time where we are actually spending our focus on building ourselves, our mind, our mental health, our clarity, our focus, our control, our soul, where our passions are, where our health is, and our body, what we eat, how we eat, what this thing is, the temple of our soul, how this thing functions. And you see tonight, we see whether it's positive psychology or Amir Aronson's lesson and Joanna telling us like how we think and how we eat, they're all so interconnected. Very good. That's what Jews are working on all around the world right now, the week before Shavuot. We're going to stand at Mount Sinai in a week, and we need to stand there full and complete and energized and passionate and ready to go. Okay, I want to thank you all for coming and seeing the show. I want to remind you that next week we have another show. We'll be talking about Jews who choose in honor of the book of Ruth, which is read on the holiday of Shavuot, the greatest convert to Judaism in our history. Jews who choose, we'll be talking about. On Wednesday night, the night before the festival, we will have a Shavuathon, which is a night of learning. It's late night, and that's the idea. It should be late at night, and you should go like you're tired and you're pushing through. We're going to have amazing classes on Facebook Live, 9 topics, 9 teachers, all from more Manhattan. You got to jump in and put on your calendar. It'll be after this show on Wednesday night next week, and really amazing classes, short, to the point classes, all about the festival and what it means. and you don't want to miss out on that. And of course, always go to moremanhattan.org to see everything that's going on in our ecosystem there. And we're really grateful that you tune in and grateful that you watch and spend time with us. We can't wait to get back together with you in person and finish a nice glass of wine together, face to face, in the right place, in the right time. Everyone should be healthy and well. Have a Shabbat Shalom. And we'll leave you with a little bit of, we normally have an in-house jazz band, Tal Klein and his friends, and they're over there in Tel Aviv, and they're recording for us and giving us something to savor the evening with. Thank you all for coming. We have a little bit from Tal Klein from Tel Aviv to remind us of how beautiful it is over there, where we really want to be. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you for coming. Thanks to the producers, Alana and Bianca and Michael. Your hard work is very appreciated. L'chaim, good night.